Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something many of us interact with pretty much every day, the global coffee market.
That morning ritual.
Exactly. We're going to unpack the numbers from a recent analysis. It's titled Global Coffee Market Trends and Projections. The idea is to really understand, where coffee sales are surging, where things are maybe a bit slower, and what all these shifts mean for the huge economic picture behind our favorite brew.
It's a fascinating space.
It really is. Get ready, because this industry, it's way bigger and more dynamic than you might think. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, some really surprising regional changes. We'll look at the biggest spenders, the fastest growers, and maybe try to figure out what makes these different coffee cultures tick.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how something so personal like a daily cup translates into such a global economic powerhouse.
So let's dive into those big global numbers first. The scale is quite something. Back in 2021, coffee sales revenue was already over $424 billion.
A huge number already.
Right. And that grew to nearly $468 billion by 2025. And the projections, they show it reaching almost $570 billion by 2033.
Wow.
Think about that for a second.
Wow.
Almost $570 billion just on coffee. What's really striking here is how consistent that growth path looks.
Yeah, there's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of about 2.5% projected from 2025 to 2033. And what really stands out to me there isn't just the enormous size of the market, but how sustained that expansion is.
Right.
It really suggests that coffee is just deeply woven into global habits, surprisingly resilient even when economies fluctuate. The steady upward trend, it really sets the stage for understanding the really interesting regional differences that are actually driving this growth.
Okay, yeah, let's get into those regional dynamics because that's where some really compelling stories emerge. First up, maybe the most dynamic right now, Asia Pacific.
Yes.
This region isn't just growing, it's projected to have the highest CAGR, just over 3.4%.
That's significant. Yeah.
And the market size there, already huge, over $101 billion in 2021, and it's projected to surge past $151 billion by 2033.
Indeed. And, within Asia Pacific, some countries are real powerhouses. China's leading the way regionally in terms of growth rate.
Okay.
But what's maybe even more notable is India. It's actually registering the highest national CAGR overall, over 4.2%.
Wow, over 4% for India.
Yeah, it's projected to nearly double its market size, going from roughly $13.5 billion in 2021 to over $22.4 billion by 2033.
Incredible.
And you also see strong growth in Singapore, nearly 4% CAGR, and the wider Southeast Asia region is also remarkable, almost 4.2% CAGR there too.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Like you said, India and Southeast Asia, they're absolutely flying. What does this tell us? What's behind this really rapid expansion in Asia? Is it just money?
Well, if we try and connect this to the bigger picture, it really points to a profound shift in global consumption patterns. This boom in Asia Pacific, it's not just about rising incomes, though that's part of it, of course.
Sure.
It's also tied to things like rapid urbanization. More cities mean more spaces, like coffee shops, and you have a growing middle class that's embracing, more globalized lifestyles.
Okay. So coffee becomes aspirational.
Kind of, yeah. For many, coffee is becoming a symbol of modernity, maybe a break from more traditional drinks. It's a new focus for socializing, for business meetings, much like we saw happen in Western markets, decades ago.
That makes sense. A cultural shift as much as an economic one.
Yeah.
But while Asia's surge is, grabbing headlines, we shouldn't forget the established players.
Yeah.
Let's shift focus to Europe,
Right.
a region with a really deep coffee culture, and it's still expanding. Europe is actually still the largest market by current sales, over $136 billion back in 2021, projected to hit over $176 billion by 2033.
Still massive.
Absolutely. The overall CAGR there is solid, 2.2%. So mature, yes, but still very healthy growth.
What's intriguing, though, is the variation within Europe.
Okay.
Take Germany, for instance. It's actually leading European growth, nearly 2.9% CAGR, projected to reach over $37 billion by 2033.
So Germany's pulling ahead there.
Yeah, and the UK and Spain, they also show pretty strong growth, around 2.4 to 2.5% CAGR. But then this raises an interesting question, why such different growth rates in what seems like a pretty integrated region.
Hmm.
Look at Russia, for example. Really slow growth noted in the report, just over 0.5%
It's
CAGR.
0.5%. That's barely moving.
Exactly. Projected to reach only about $7.1 billion by 2033. That stark difference really highlights how even in these big established markets, local factors matter. Things like, economic policy, geopolitical stuff, or just unique consumer tastes can play a really big role.
That contrast between Germany's strength and Russia's, well, sluggishness is really striking. Does the report hint at why that divergence is so sharp in Russia's case? Or is it just presented as a data point?
The report mainly sticks to the numbers, yeah. But I mean, such a significant slowdown in a major European economy like that, it could point to a lot of things. Maybe shifting domestic priorities or economic pressures hitting discretionary spending, perhaps?
Could it be?
Or maybe a coffee shop culture that's just less ingrained or evolving differently compared to, say, Western Europe.
Yeah.
It's definitely a market where you'd want more localized insight to really understand the story.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fascinating difference there. Okay, let's move across the Atlantic. North America, another steady, significant player. Market size there, over $106 billion in 2021, projected to grow to over $132 billion by 2033. The CAGR is about 1.8%.
Solid, but slower than Europe overall.
Right. And the U.S., unsurprisingly, just dominates the region. Almost $106 billion projected by 2033 just for the states.
The giant in the room.
But interestingly, Canada actually has a higher CAGR, almost 2.5%, projected to hit over $16 billion by 2033. So the U.S. market is huge, massive, but Canada's growing a bit faster proportionally. What stands out to you about the North American trends?
Well, what's notable, I think, is that while the U.S. market is immense, its growth is more, let's say, stable than explosive, right? It's mature.
Yeah.
Canada, with that higher growth rate, it might be signaling a slightly faster evolving coffee culture up there, maybe different demographics driving it. Or perhaps it's catching up on some premium coffee trends that the U.S. market has maybe already absorbed more fully.
Ah, interesting.
It just speaks to the nuance, Even within these big mature markets, you can find distinct pockets of faster development or changing consumer tastes.
Definitely food for thought there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift south. South America, the very home of so many coffee beans we love.
The origin, yes.
Consumption there is also seeing pretty healthy growth. The market's projected to reach over $51 billion by 2033. That's with a solid 2.68% CAGR.
Good growth.
In Brazil, as you'd expect, is the largest contributor, projected to reach nearly $22.5 billion by 2033.
Makes sense. Big producer, big consumer too.
And Argentina is also showing particularly strong growth, a CAGR of 3.33%.
Okay, Argentina punching above its weight there.
Seems like it. Now, beyond the really big continents, there are other dynamic markets emerging too, right?
Absolutely. Let's look at the Middle East, for instance. It's kind of brewing its own unique coffee story.
Okay.
Projected to reach over $32.5 billion by 2033 with a 2.64% CAGR. And the UAE is leading growth in that region, over 3.2% CAGR. Turkey is also strong, almost 3%.
Interesting. What's driving that?
It seems to be this fascinating blend of, deeply rooted traditional coffee customs mixing with new, very modern cafe trends.
Right, the traditional Arabic coffee alongside the lattes and cappuccinos.
Exactly, a real fusion happening there.
And finally, let's touch on Africa.
Yeah.
Currently the smallest regional market in terms of value, but definitely on an upward path. It went from over $17.8 billion in 2021, projected to reach over $24.2 billion by 2033. That's with a 2.14% CAGR.
Still growing steadily.
And South Africa is leading the regional growth there at over 2.8% CAGR. Given Africa's, deep history with coffee production, this growth in consumption suggests there's still significant, maybe largely untapped, potential for the domestic market as economies develop.
Absolutely. A continent to watch in the coffee space for sure, both for production and consumption.
So, okay, we've toured the globe, looked at all these numbers. What does this all mean? What's the big takeaway for the industry and maybe for us, just as people who drink coffee?
Well, pulling it all together, this data paints a really clear picture. First, there's just this consistent, robust global demand for coffee that's reflected in the steady overall growth pretty much everywhere.
Right, people love coffee.
They really do. But the most significant insight, I think, is the undeniable shift in where the strongest growth is coming from. It's moving decisively towards Asia-Pacific, driven by those huge, rapidly evolving markets like India and China.
That's the key shift.
Exactly. And this isn't just about, more people drinking coffee. It really signifies fundamental changes, changing consumer habits, growing middle classes, evolving cultural norms in these regions. It impacts everything from city planning to retail strategy. And we see this stark contrast, right, between the mature markets, North America, much of Europe showing moderate stable growth, and these high-growth emerging markets. And even within regions, those very different stories, like we saw with Germany versus Russia, it just underscores the local nuances in this truly global industry.
So why should you, listening right now, care about these numbers? Well, understanding these trends gives really crucial insights. For coffee producers, it helps them figure out where to focus, where to invest in sustainable growing.
Vital for them.
For distributors, it's about spotting new supply chains, optimizing how things get moved around. For cafes, maybe it helps decide where to open the next shop or what kind of blend might appeal to changing tastes.
Absolutely.
And for you, maybe it's just a reminder that your daily cup, it isn't just a personal thing. It's a thread connected to this dynamic, multi-billion-dollar global web. It reveals these patterns of economic development, cultural exchange happening all over the world.
It truly does. And, thinking about that, if coffee trends are such a strong indicator of economic shifts and cultural change, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday things, stuff we just take for granted, might be telling similar hidden stories about our evolving world? What could the next deep dive reveal?
Okay, think beyond just, your usual morning cup for a moment. Let's think bigger. Because the global coffee market, it's not just ticking along. It's this massive, dynamic, multi-billion-dollar thing. And one report we looked at described it as having strong momentum. Did you know that? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on that coffee market, trends, growth, and challenges report from Cognitive Market Research. Yeah, our mission here is to really pull out those key insights, those aha moments. We want to help you get quickly up to speed on an industry that, well, it touches billions of lives every single day. So let's jump right in. There's this pretty big shift happening. The coffee market's got this increasing momentum, and it seems like it's really driven by how we as consumers are changing our habits. And the report highlights ready-to-drink coffee, RTD, as really leading the charge. So what is it about RTD coffee? Why is it such a powerhouse right now?
It's actually quite fascinating. RTD coffee seems to have perfectly captured, well, the spirit of modern life, hasn't it? A huge part of its surge is just pure convenience. I mean, think about it. Busy lifestyles, more people living in cities. It all accelerates this move towards drinks that need zero prep time. RTD just fits right in.
Makes sense. Grab and go.
Exactly. But it's not just about being fast. The brands have really stepped up. They're offering options that are genuinely high quality now, flavorful and super accessible right there on the shelf.
Okay.
And then there's the health angle. That's a powerful force, too. We're seeing much more demand for low-sugar versions, plant-based options, even functional ones with added benefit.
Like added vitamins or something.
Precisely. And who's driving this? Well, younger generations are key. Millennials, Gen Z, they seem to want products that give them that energy boost, yes, but also convenience. And often they want it alongside those, more indulgent flavors, caramel, mocha, that kind of thing.
No, it's hitting multiple points at once.
Absolutely. Combine that strong generational pull with some smart pricing strategies and really innovative packaging. And you can see why this segment's expansion is accelerating so much. So yeah, our RTD coffee isn't just about speed. It's sort of a microcosm of how modern consumers want everything. Convenient, customizable, fitting into their busy, health-aware lives. It's really pushing traditional coffee to innovate or, risk getting left behind.
That makes perfect sense for busy lives, yeah. But I wonder, does this shift, away from the ritual, the brewing, the sitting down, does that fundamentally change our relationship with coffee? Or is it just a different way to get the same caffeine fix?
That's a great question. I'd say it's definitely evolving our relationship. It's maybe creating new rituals rather than completely killing the old ones. People are finding different moments, different ways to enjoy coffee now.
Interesting. New rituals. Okay. So convenience is clearly huge, but it sounds like the market's also being pulled in other directions too, maybe more sophisticated ones. Beyond just RTD, what other innovations are really shaking things up, reshaping how we think about coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. Beyond just the grab-and-go convenience of RTD, there are these broader dynamics, and they really point to a deep consumer desire for personalization
Yeah.
and for higher quality. People are actively looking for unique experiences now, and that's fueled this amazing rise in specialty coffee offerings. Think about things like meticulously crafted cold brews or single-origin beans that really highlight specific flavors from a region. All those flavored lattes, the really artful ones, these aren't just niche things anymore. They're becoming mainstream expectations.
Right, you see single origin everywhere now.
Exactly. And another huge driver, plant-based milks, especially almond and oat milk. Their popularity has just exploded.
Yeah.
And that's undeniably broadened the market's appeal, particularly for health-conscious people, vegans. It fundamentally changes what coffee can even mean.
It's amazing how fast oat milk became standard, isn't it?
It really is. And then there's the digital side. App-based ordering, loyalty programs, that kind of digital engagement really appeals to younger crowds and just makes getting all these diverse options easier.
Streamlining access.
Yes. And importantly, and we can talk more about this, sustainability isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's becoming a really significant underlying factor. Younger consumers especially are prioritizing ethical sourcing.
Okay, so lots of innovation, lots of growth. It sounds fantastic. But, every boom has its potential. Well, vulnerabilities. Are there underlying pressures, cracks in the foundation of this coffee juggernaut? What are the big challenges?
Yeah, that's a really important point. The market isn't without its significant hurdles. The primary restraint, and the report really emphasizes this, is the fluctuating cost of raw materials. Specifically, the coffee beans themselves. Bean prices are just incredibly sensitive.
So what, mainly? Weather?
Weather is a huge one. Environmental factors, definitely. Extreme weather events, think severe droughts, unexpected floods, they can massively impact crop yields. And that leads to sharp, unpredictable price swings across the whole market. The report mentions concerns in major coffee-producing countries like Brazil and Vietnam, fears of potential global shortages because of these adverse conditions that could seriously disrupt the market.
Wow.
And then you layer on top of that rising costs for transportation, for labor, plus just general economic uncertainties. It all puts immense pressure on the supply chain.
So it's not just about growing the beans.
Not at all. And what's really critical here, and maybe a bit sobering, is how these fluctuations hit the small-scale farmers hardest. They often just lack the financial cushion, the resources, to recover from a really bad harvest. And that can lead to lower quality crops down the line, or even farmers leaving the market altogether, which ultimately could undermine the long-term stability for everyone involved. It's a tough reality for many.
So it sounds like climate change isn't just some abstract future threat here. It's an immediate, tangible risk to that morning cup for billions of people, directly linking environmental stability to global commodity prices in a way that maybe most of us don't really think about.
Absolutely. The connection is direct and undeniable. And the vulnerability of that coffee supply chain to climate shifts, it's a major, major challenge for the entire industry.
Right. So clearly, just sitting back isn't an option for the industry. What's happening then? What innovative approaches are they taking to, navigate these challenges, to maybe even grow stronger and meet these evolving demands?
Well, they're definitely not sitting still. The industry is actively adapting, innovating, and there are two key emerging trends that are really reshaping things. First, sustainability and ethical sourcing. This has moved way beyond just being a niche interest. It's becoming a core consumer expectation now.
People demand it more.
They do. They expect and often demand that brands engage in environmentally responsible practices. And this covers a lot. Things like shade-grown coffee, which helps biodiversity, direct trade models, ensuring farmers get fair pay, even shifting to compostable or recyclable packaging. And traceability is becoming crucial here, too. Using tools like blockchain or digital platforms, it lets buyers actually track where their coffee comes from. That builds transparency, and it builds brand loyalty.
Interesting. So that's one big trend. What's the second?
The second major trend is a really significant diversification of the products being offered. This is genuinely expanding the market's scope in some pretty exciting ways. It's not just about, more types of coffee beans. It's a much more layered, strategic approach.
How so?
Well, we're talking about the whole spectrum. From those really high-end, exquisite specialty coffees, all the way to cutting-edge RTD innovations like those creamy nitro cold brews you see now, and even functional coffees ones enriched with things like adaptogens or antioxidants for added health benefit.
Right coffee plus something extra.
Exactly. And this kind of multifaceted approach, it's really effective. It helps attract very different customer segments. And it's crucial for brands to stand out, to differentiate themselves in what's becoming a very competitive landscape. It's really about meeting a much wider range of consumer needs and desires.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today. It's been a fascinating deep dive, hasn't it? From that explosive growth in convenient RTDs and all the brewing innovations through to the very real sobering challenges, climate change, hitting raw material costs, those complex supply chains, but also seeing how the industry is responding, embracing sustainability, that incredible product diversification.
Absolutely. And if you connect all these dots, look at the bigger picture. It becomes clear that the future of your coffee, the coffee you drink every day, it's this really sophisticated blend. It's about taste, yes, it's about convenience, but increasingly it's also about conscientious choices. The market is just constantly evolving, driven by our preferences as consumers, sure, but also by technology and these critical environmental factors.
So maybe next time you pick up your coffee, whether it's an RTD can or a carefully brewed cup, just pause for a second. Consider not just the taste, but that whole intricate journey it took to reach you. And maybe think about how your choices, our choices, might actually shape this huge global market for years to come. What really stands out to you about that complex dance between demand, innovation, and sustainability in your daily cup? Something to think about.